Hello guys, my name is Tunari Amazon. This is Tunarific and I want to welcome you back for another Film Review Fridays. This is basically a show when I go out to the movies, I go review a movie of my choice or your choice, either on Netflix or other theaters. And I make my own sort of review of it. I'll give you a little bit about the plot and tell you my review and other people's reviews about this movie. Let's get started. The movie I chose to review today is none other than John Green's "The Fault in Our Stars." As you can tell, obviously this is a movie based out of the book written by John Green. John Green, if you don't know who he is, he's an author, but he's also a YouTuber, co-founder of the Vlog Brothers. You can go search them, or I'll put the links in the description. Basically, it's a book written by him. It's an amazing book. I haven't read it 100% yet. I've only read like the first two, three chapters, but it's totally worth it. I recommend it because this movie was touching. It was amazing, but I'll get to that in a little bit. So it's based out of the book by John Green, obviously. It was directed by Josh Boone, and it stars Shailene Woodley as Hazel. It stars Ansel Elgort, I think that's how you pronounce it. Ansel Elgort as Augustus Waters, and it stars Nat Wolff as Isaac, I think. Nat Wolff, yeah, the guy from the Naked Brothers band. It also includes Laura Dern, Willem Dafoe, Mike Birbiglia, and other people. It's an interesting cast to say the least. I love Shailene Woodley. So basically, the plot of this movie is Shailene Woodley plays Hazel Grace Lancaster, who is basically the main character in this film, you could probably say, in the book and in the film, which talks about this 16-year-old girl teenager who happens to have cancer and has issues with breathing and lungs. I don't think it's necessarily cancer in the lungs, but she has problems breathing. She has to have some sort of apparatus in order to breathe and live. She cannot do much stuff other than that would cause her to lose a certain amount of breath or a certain amount of air. I think it's some sort of issue where like water gets into your lungs. I'm not really sure what's the name of the thing. I forgot it right now. It's about her, how she goes into a support group of sorts for cancer, and she meets Augustus Waters, who is played by Ansel Elgort, and how it basically talks how they get to know each other and how are they dealing with cancer and kind of like their relationship. The movie focuses on their relationship and how cancer is a recurring subject and how it affects their relationship as the movie progresses. And it is a really touching movie, to be quite honest. I'm not gonna go into any spoilers or anything. If you want to know more about this movie or book, first of all, read the book, because I'm gonna do it eventually. Trust me, I think probably in the weekend I'll read it all. And watch the movie. I think the movie does a good job at depicting many of the stuff that happens in the book. It obviously doesn't include everything, like all books. When they're made into movies, they're gonna change stuff, and stuff is gonna be edited out or whatever or not. But I think the movie does a good job, and basically, it's based out of their relationship and how they're dealing with cancer, and so it stars them. That's basically what the movie's about. I mean, there's nothing really much into it, other than the fact that those have a friend, which his name is Isaac, which is played by Nat Wolff. He's just like a friend of Ansel. A friend of Augustus. I'm always confused both of them because I have weird names. Augustus and it was also like he's like the comic relief, you can probably say, of this movie. He's like the funny guy. You see these two guys. You see both Hazel and Augustus as kind of like the cute couple. Kind of the cute part of the movie is them two, and then the comic relief somewhere or another is Isaac. But yeah, I thought this movie was great. I thought this movie was really, for what parts I've read from the book already. I think the movie does a good job sticking. It does a really good job portraying most of the events from the movie. It does a good job, based on the amazing book and everything, sticking to the story and and portraying the facts as how it is. One of the things I most liked about this movie is the fact that this is not your typical happily ever after movie. It deals with a lot of issues. It deals with a lot of pain, suffering, fears. It kind of goes, into detail with that, and I like the fact that it's kind of those movies that makes you think, makes you feel emotions. I'll admit for sure I cried in this movie. Well, to be quite honest, I'm an emotional person, so when I watched this film, it kind of moved me a lot. So I've kind of going a little bit personal, but I've dealt with a loss in the past and with pain. Everyone does, but I've dealt with like loss close to the family, and this kind of movie like triggered that kind of memory of sorts. And yeah, it was sad, but not because it's sad it makes it a bad movie. It makes it a good movie because it triggers other stuff from you when you watch it. It gives you a different experience because even though these kind of movies, that romantic drama movies, romantic comedy drama movies, aren't my type. You can probably say I'm more into other kind of genres, but this is definitely a movie that I will say I really really liked. There's been a while since a movie has made me cry, and this movie did. So yeah, I mean, definitely one of the things I love most about this movie is the relationship between Shailene and Ansel's characters, which is Augustus and Hazel. I think their characters, I think the relationship between them is really really unique. It's really strong, especially with the theme of them both being cancer survivors or cancer people dealing with cancer. It's kind of an interesting dynamic, and how they don't care about being in the verge of death or the verge of oblivion, as the movie tells you constantly. They love each other, or they, throughout the movie, you see that they start loving each other, and how this, how interesting the world is, and how you got to enjoy those little moments as they had to enjoy the little time they could possibly have, because they never knew when, if it happens, that their time is coming or whatnot. And I think this movie does a really good job at portraying the kind of message that hey, enjoy those little moments, enjoy the little infinity, as this movie says a lot. And yeah, I mean, I totally recommend this movie for sure. And yeah, as for Isaac, the guy who's the comic relief, I really like Nat Wolff's acting in this movie. I like all of the acting in this movie, to be quite honest. Shailene did an amazing job. Ansel did a good job as well. I mean, the movie is filled with great actors. William Dafoe, he has a character in this film, which you probably will guess if you've read the book. But he does a really good job. I mean, it's a great acting. The plot, the plot is based on the book, which is an amazing book, so there's no doubting the plot there. The dialogue was great. Everything was great. I mean, the fact that this movie makes you feel something and makes you realize how sometimes reality sucks, I like the concept. As I mentioned, it made me cry and everything. So props to the movie. It made when I went to the theaters, when I watched the movie, everyone, like at least 95% of the people who were in the theater, they were all crying. Some even hysterically. There was this girl who was, probably 12 or 11, I don't know. She was young, definitely. She was like, I wasn't the only one who didn't cry. Which that kind of annoyed me, to be honest. That kind of ruined it a little bit at the end. When she was like, oh, I made it all the way through without crying. This is kind of those movies that you go in the movie expecting to shed a tear of sorts. So, first of all, don't bring young kids to see this movie because one, they will not understand most of the stuff's going on. It has a lot of symbolism and a lot of themes that kids probably would not want to see at a certain point, probably later on in their lives. I saw it with I went to see this movie with my mother and with my sister, my younger sister, but she's not. I mean, she's 14, I think. Yeah, 14. I think. Yeah, my younger sister, who's 12, she didn't go and see the movie because it was gonna be too intense for her. And definitely this girl didn't take it seriously at all. It was just like, this movie is meant to make you feel something. So if you're gonna go to this film, make sure you go with people, with your special other person, with your family members, with a group of friends or whatnot. I wouldn't necessarily recommend going watching this movie alone because it's gonna be kind of weird. You going to the movie by yourself and crying by yourself. So it's kind of the group dynamic is good. So I would recommend it. That being said, I think it's time for me to give a review or consensus about the movie. So yeah, let me give you my review of this movie. Overall, I think it's a great movie. It's definitely a tearful movie. It's an emotional movie. So if you're gonna go watch this movie, which I do recommend, make sure you watch it with people. People you care for, and yeah, I think most likely you're definitely gonna cry in this movie. So just kind of have some tissues here and there for for just for the cause. This movie right now has a 8.7 on IMDb, imdb.com, which is great. That's kind of how well I would give this movie, which is an 8.5. I am giving it an 8.5. I would give it even a 9. Yeah, I'll probably give it a 9 actually. Yeah, scratch that. I'm giving this movie a 9. Which is a really good movie. It's a different kind of liking in this movie because as I gave Godzilla and X-Men a 9, but that's because I like that kind of genre of movies, suspense and action. But this is a movie that definitely is one of those kind of movies that it's quite noticeable of this genre of the romantic comedy drama movie. So. That being said, well, yeah, I gave it a 9. I did get an 8.7, and I think Rotten Tomatoes currently has like an 82%, which is fairly good. The consensus being, it's a heartwarming film. It's funny. It's sweet. And it's heartbreaking. So kind of an interesting mix, and it does condone a good message. So I do recommend this movie. Thank you, John Green. Probably you won't watch this, but you are a great inspiration to many people. Not only authors or screenwriters or whatnot, but for people in general. I thank you for your help, along with your brother Hank Green, for doing what you do for YouTube, and for making this awesome book, which I will promise I will fully read. I've read I've seen some of your audio chapters, but yeah. I definitely recommend the book. I will read the book, and I'll definitely recommend it. I definitely recommend this movie. And that being said, thank you for watching this review of sorts. If you agree with me on this review, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe. That way you will know when I make a new video. And yeah, that's basically it. This is kind of a new. You already noticed, but this is kind of a new. Plus, I will try to record when I'm home. I'll try and record more on my new set as in the future. But for now, I decided to record here. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Take care, and I'll see you then. Peace.